3, 2, 1.
Thunder, lightning, universe, ArTechník.
Okay, awesome.
Who are you
Hey,
recording?
my name is Aaron, and I
I am
come
also
from
recording.
Alabama.
Nice, and I come from Alabama, and I...
We don't know the words.
Nope. We do not.
What
In
just
no
happened?
shape or form. Poetry!
Poetry. I was just looking at
I
some
know.
poetry.
Were you?
I got a nice glass of ginger ale.
I was like literally when he said the word poetry, I was looking at a little bit of poetry on my phone.
Oh,
Who wants to sing Hail Poetry from Pirates of Penzance?
I don't know it.
know it.
Oh, I see.
I could.
Is this poetry you can share?
Huh? Oh yeah. I didn't write it. It was. I'll preface it with that, but it's a piece that I really liked. I attend services, and I don't know if I've talked about this, but you guys know Unitarian. I go to these Unitarian services, and we're actually in the process right now of the current minister who is serving is getting ready to retire. And she has been with this particular church for about 14 years. And so they are about to get an interim minister that she doesn't actually come until August. And so there's going to be I guess, some lay preachers, I guess, for the month. Like just people in the...
Itinerant?
No, not quite itinerant. No. Like literally just people in the congregation, I think, would just take charge of the service that week. There'd be like a different leader.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. And
Which week is your week?
I don't know. Well, here's the thing. It was last weekend. I think I got a little taste of that because the big national Unitarian meeting was actually in Louisville. So most of the congregation was actually at that service. And in fact, the current minister was one of the speakers there. So I had a little taste of what the lay service might be like. And it was it was this older couple, and it was just very much like, they were trying to do a PowerPoint, and it was just, there was a moment where I wanted to just run up and take over. And mostly, and mostly because for some reason, like half the congregation, there was like 30 of us there, half of the congregation was all visitors. And so I didn't want these visitors that were trying it out for the first time to think, oh God, this is what a Unitarian service is like. Because it was just, it was very sweet, and they were doing the best they could, but it was
But
not.
I can imagine nothing cuter and more hilarious and more frustrating than
Yes.
old people plus PowerPoint.
Yes, it was an adorable failure. So, but anyway, so I
This
I
seems like an
digress.
excellent way to build your
My standing in the
following.
church.
Your minister service?
Yeah. I just, I don't know. Some guy just came up out of the congregation and started talking. Yeah, he's that guy that's only been visiting for a month. I think
He came from above.
I think he's our new minister. God, that'd be a horrible way to introduce yourself. Like sneak in as a visitor and then one day just walk him and go, surprise.
Right.
I'm your
right,
interim.
Right.
But, man, one last thing before I talk about the poetry.
Yes.
There's an interesting thing because because they are going through this new minister process. I've been learning through them that I knew that becoming a Unitarian minister is a very rigorous process.
Really?
You have to get like a divinity degree through some religious affiliated like seminary. It doesn't, because there aren't any like UU seminaries, so like you can go and get your divinity degree at a Catholic institution, Presbyterian. Emory I know has like a huge like religious studies program there. But anyway, you have to get like a master's or doctoral degree, and then there's like a 2-year sort of apprentice like journeyman process where you get assigned to a church and like sort of a mentor minister before you are officially can be considered to be a UU minister.
Sounds
And,
like it'd be easier to just to start your own church.
It really would. But I also appreciate that too, because that means that the people that you get really want to do it. You're not getting somebody that say got their divinity degree on an online place just so they could marry their friends.
Hey.
Perform.
Hey,
Wait a minute.
why are you
You
holding
know.
that against me all of a sudden?
I was calling myself out too, man. All right. Yeah. Think about it. Okay.
Oh my God.
But then I also learned that apparently part of the retirement process is our current minister, once she retires, even if she stays in the area, she is not allowed to attend services or become an active member of the local church for 2 years. Because they don't want the previous person that was there hanging around, and it's
Sticking their
basically
nose
like a
in the
way to say,
business.
right. This is a way to say this is a fresh start. Let's evaluate the things what was good, what was bad, and let's move on from there. And which would be a difficult situation if you had the former person just hanging out. So
Right.
So it's a very cool process that I've been learning about. And all this leads into the poem you asked me about 5 minutes ago.
Yes.
In her former life, she was an English teacher, high school English, I believe, and so she has this wonderful. She incorporates lots of poetry and quotes from people most of the time I have never heard of in my life. Specifically, there's a lot of sort of Eastern, like Sufi poetry and things like that she'll incorporate. I don't. This is not a Sufi poem, but it is a name that I had never heard of before. And here is the little poem, or maybe inspirational speech. She used it 2 weeks ago in one of her homilies. It's from a woman named Jane Repka. And here it goes. We have wintered enough, mourned enough, oppressed ourselves enough. Our souls are too long cold and buried. Our dreams are all but forgotten. Our hopes are unheard. We awaken to the power so abundant, so holy, that returns each year through sun and sky. We will find our hearts again and our good spirits. We will love and believe and give and wonder and feel again the eternal powers. The flow of life moves ever onward through one faithful spring, and another, and now another, and may we be forever grateful.
That is beautiful.
Yeah.
This makes for actually a rather appropriate thing for our discussion today.
Yeah.
If I can just get right into it.
Sure.
We are closing down the show.
Yes.
Yeah, we're closing down the show for a variety of reasons, which we're going to spend this episode discussing, among with whatever the hell else we feel like talking about,
Sure.
because they'll have to drag us,
That's
out
what
of
the
this
show
thing.
is really these days. In a good way.
That's
I mean,
true,
we really
that's
have
true, that's
allowed
true.
ourselves to talk freely about what strikes us as interesting.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think there's a lot less tension these days in the show. But before we get into where we've been, we should talk about where we are.
Yeah.
The truth is, we don't have the listenership that we would like to have, although we're very grateful for those of you who do listen, and a lot of you guys we know personally. And we're not quite having the retention that we would like to have of the audience, and we're not sure why. There's a variety of reasons, which I'm sure we'll talk about. But the consensus was made that perhaps because of a combination of audience decline, or not quite catching fire like we hoped, and all of our lives sort of going in an interesting direction, that it might be a good time to stop the show. I would like to give our last bit of numbers if I could.
Do it.
So,
You got 'em?
bear with me. I got them.
Okay.
I got them.
I was going to say, do you
All
need
right.
us to fill?
Vamp, Johnny. Bum, 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 bum.
Now I'd like to talk about the migrating habits of the
Right.
North American swallow.
Swallow. Caw-caw. Our final numbers, our downloads of all time, were 11,014.
Ooh.
Yeah. And looking at everything, gosh, our greatest hit was The Science of Art Part 1, which is episode 23. weighing in at a whopping 482. And the lowest would make sense was our last episode, at episode 22 downloads, a message from your younger self. But that one's only been out like a week. We picked up some interesting countries. So let me go down the line with those real quick. And then guess what? You won't ever have to hear stats anymore. So if you don't like this, then skip ahead about 30 seconds. Anyway, as you'd expect, the United States was our biggest draw with 8,287 downloads. Canada came in at number 2 at 1,530.
Hey, Robin.
China came in at number 3 at 340. Hong Kong 175. Somewhere Unknown 122. UK 106. Asia
Sarah.
Pacific 90. Turkey 84, France 32, Germany 27, Venezuela 21, Mexico 21, Malaysia 16, Belgium 13, Australia 13, Russian Federation 13, Japan 11, Italy 10, South Africa 9, Korea, Republic of 9, French Guiana 8, Switzerland 8.
Regular
Hello, neutral
Guiana.
Switzerland. Regular Guiana. Ireland 7, Spain 7, Anonymous Proxy 6.
Hello, you know who you are.
We'll never know. Indonesia.
I'm not allowed to
5.
say their name. That's why they
That's
go
right.
through an anonymous.
Philippines 5. Nigeria 5. We don't want your prince money. Albania 5. Czech Republic 4. Moldova Republic of 4. Afghanistan
Thank you,
3.
Vigo.
UAE, United Arab Emirates 3, Sweden 2, Armenia 2, Denmark 2, Argentina 1, Jamaica 1, Singapore 1, Thailand 1, Bhutan 1, Algeria 1, Austria 1, and finally Egypt 1. We may have started the Arab Spring.
I heard Hong Kong go by just too late to say, "Hey, Ashley."
Thank you so much,
Oh, thank
Ashley.
you.
Yeah.
Most of our users, our listeners, came from Apple Core Media, which is going to be like iPhones and Apple TVs and stuff like that. That's the name of that software proxy. About 4,000, and then we got about almost 2,000 came from Stagefright, which is the native Android API or whatever for audio playing, and all kinds of browsers and blah 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 blah. Who cares? So yeah, and then those were our stats. I was surprised we had so many in Canada. Who's your friend in Canada, Aaron?
Robin is the one I know who has at least listened to a couple of episodes. I don't know if she is continuous
Listen
listening.
to 1,000 something.
Right. Well, I'm pretty
She
sure
buys a
she
new
is not.
computer every
So we don't
week
have
and
that
throws
many.
it away.
But I think she has occasionally. She just became a barrister and solicitor in the Canadian legal system. That's fancy talk for lawyer. But I almost called her a barista and solicitor, and that would not be the same thing. But that's nice because now I have the ability to make poor decisions in Canada as well, and I have somebody I can now call and be like, "Hey, I'm arrested.
You're in Canada.
Guess who's my lawyer?"
And I'm the person you come to if you're arrested in an alternate time stream, right?
Yes.
I'm arrested and not from this time.
Find me a lawyer. No, but I have a few people that have been friends with as they've gone through law school here in the States that I occasionally will send them my legal ponderings. For example, if I am arrested, I have the legal right to defend myself in court. I don't have to pass the bar exam to do that.
Nope. No.
If I make it clear to somebody else that I have not passed the bar exam but would like to represent them, and they accept those conditions, am I legally allowed to represent them? And I quickly got back a very brief no. And I was like, "Yes, but," and she was like, "No." Do not
No.
even go down this
You
path.
just want to do your space chicken lawyer routine.
I'm just a simple space chicken.
I have a friend who just went into law school, and I met her at the Center for Puppetry Arts. And during the dean's opening address welcoming the new class, he was like saying, and we have a very interesting body this time. We have these many pre-laws and this and this and a puppeteer. And she was like, oh, I wonder who that is.
Oh my goodness gracious. Well, whoever you are, whatever your state of incarceration, inebriation, or indiscretion might be, whatever country you're from, thank you for listening, for those of you who have been. And if this is your first episode, well,
Welcome.
you've got some catching up to do. Welcome.
If you listen to every episode one at a time, we may figure out the next step or 1 week at a time. We may figure out the next step by the time you're ready for us.
That is true. That is true. Yes, take us as we were.
Not as we are.
Not as we are.
Drunk and angry.
Yeah.
Remember us
I know,
as the
we
It's
happy
been a heck of a
drunks.
journey.
If I wasn't in the children's theater building, I think I'd be sipping like some whiskey while we were doing this one.
Oh,
I
yeah.
think this would be the one that I would drink on.
Bourbon.
A tiny bourbon. And maybe then just for effect, maybe I will pretend to get drunker as the podcast gets
I
on.
like it. I like it a lot.
You're
like, speaking
honestly
of,
telling
I
us
feel
there's
like
no
I've-
alcohol hidden about the children's theater building behind the scripts or something.
None that he'll admit to on the air.
That's true.
I feel like I have learned so much about you guys through the show, and I already kind of knew you guys. And I feel like I obviously learned a lot about how to do this kind of thing, but a lot of what we are like at our best and a lot of what we are like at our most stressed and our most, and opinions that I never knew you guys had on things and opinions I never knew I had on things, and lots of warm, squishy, gooey life lessons that way. But yeah, I should own that kind of the impetus for, hey, we need to stop ultimately did come from me. I felt very overworked, and I mentioned this earlier when we were off air in our little chat, that I'm really good at doing a lot of things okay, and I'm not great at doing one thing well, and that's a muscle I need to build. And at the time that it came to me that like, okay, maybe we got to put the brakes on it. I was doing we just finished the show, and I was in Athens, and that was not an experience that went the way I wanted it to go for several reasons that don't matter. And I was doing Academy, and I just took on this blog job with Topher, and other stuff was going on where I just felt like the studio wasn't making money, and the podcast wasn't building audience. And the point of the podcast, besides the fact that we just love to do it and we think it's an interesting and worthy thing to be done, was to sort of help people get to know people here who create stuff, both at Polar and outwards, but especially at Polar. I mean, that's part of why we would do the show is so that you would know who these people are, who you can hire to come make stuff or whatever. And it just wasn't quite accomplishing that. And that's a separate issue from the quality of the work, which I thought the quality of the work was very high. I feel like when the show is good, it's very good. And it hurts me to say we've got to stop. But the stress level was just too much. And I knew it was unsustainable for me personally. But I hope that we can figure something out and do something else. I don't know if it'll have the same name, but I think I like this idea of talking about art and technology. I think it's a deep mine that we could have mined deeper, but because of time constraints in everyone's life and focus constraints and just energy, I don't always think we got to mine it as deeply as we wanted to. But I hope that if we end this well, take a break, and figure out what, if anything, we do next, whatever that is, I think would be a focused, tighter show.
Right. Yeah. I think right now there's a lot of different things pulling our focus. some that we anticipated and others that we did not.
Mm-hmm.
And so while and I said this off air before we started, so I'm gonna say it on air because I was the one that encouraged honesty. You know,
always
I'm
are.
still kind of working. I always am. I'm striving for that thing called honesty. You know, I'm still kind of working through my feelings on it because I'm, you know, somewhat. I'm disappointed about the loss of the podcast and the loss of the show, and am still trying to remind myself that it could just be more of an evolution, that it's not it is not maybe the final end, but it's just maybe a break point. I think just right now, like I said, and I told this to you guys, emotionally, I don't get that yet. I think,
Sure.
you know, rationally, fine. But you know, I think this ending coupled with the move I took recently, coming to Lexington, I think maybe it's just hitting me a little bit harder than maybe
I get that.
I'm
Yeah, no.
acknowledging. Yeah, yeah,
This was an anchor point, or is an anchor point to keep. I mean, the world is flat. I raised my niece from Scotland by playing with her on Skype, and it's a connective point. And you know, I said something. I mentioned that I was talking with a friend who was in Europe to my parents at one point, and they were like, "Oh, were you able to call her?" I was like, "No, we were talking. You know, like Google Chat, like typing back and forth, and you know, it was indistinguishable to me that was just as legitimately talking with somebody as picking up a phone and having a conversation with them." And
And that's something we can certainly continue to do on our own on a non-broadcast fashion.
assuming I get my computer fixed.
Yeah, that's the thing that should
and
happen.
I will say that maybe one of the positive things about the podcast ending is now I can finally hand my computer over to somebody for an indefinite period of time, because each
Yeah.
week has been more and more of a challenge. Like even this one, it was like, I can't hear myself through the headphones. I can hear you. Hey, my Safari crashed because it says it doesn't support Google Hangouts because it's so old. You know,
but a
just
basic
all of those
hangout
little
will
things.
be ultimately easier than the convoluted loops we have gone through to make sure that we can continue
Right.
to record together in
Sure.
three
Yeah.
separate states.
Yeah.
But hey, I'm gonna give us a win for figuring out how to do the audio. It only took us all getting hundreds of miles apart from each other for it to work.
Sure.
But the shows sound finally exactly like I want them.
Isn't that
so? It's
funny?
far too easy now, which means that's how I knew. It was like, oh, it's got to be over. It's way too easy now to.
Yeah. We threw
set up the audio.
through the ultimate curveball, like extreme distance. And that's when the sound quality
Right.
was cherry. Oh well.
Well, there were other things that I had noticed. Speaking of which way the show was going and why, you know, I had noticed in myself that you can tell, was getting less interested in talking about whatever we were talking about that week, and I got on this big creativity, productivity streak, and it was something that I really wanted to discuss. And I think, you know, maybe there's another show for that or something, but I was letting other stuff creep into this show, and it was hard for me to be present in this show just in the topic sometimes. And you know, that's my bad and my fault, but there's no way I could do this and start a second show and do all the other stuff that we were trying to do. And I felt a sense of responsibility to you guys, because I don't want us to sit here and week after week do a show that I think is a good show. Whenever people hear it, they say it's a good show, and no one's hearing it because I can't put the money and the energy into promoting it the way it needs to be promoted. And I can't put the energy in it because I don't have the energy because of the other stuff I'm doing. I can't put the money in it because I'm not focused enough to be putting my efforts in one place to be earning enough money to do that. And I remember being very emotional when we discussed it over the phone, and that's when I had this is how I feel about the show. And I think needless to say, I got a little emotional on the phone with you guys about it, because I had been processing this for a few weeks before I said it, and I said it, and I've had a few weeks to figure out, okay, what do we do next? What are the great lessons out of this? And I am very much, and I've always been of the philosophy of, just keep trying stuff and figure out, take your successes from it and figure out what's going to stick. And I genuinely hope, Adam, that you see this as an evolution whenever that time is right for you, rather than anything else, because I want to come back and do this, but damn it, I want everybody to hear it. And I mean, everybody. And that's going to require some serious initiative and investment on my part of time and energy and funds, of course, but really time, energy, and creativity before anyone ever goes to Mike. So it's a lot, but it can be done. Damn it.
I believe you.
All right. Aaron,
Yes?
do you have thoughts about closing down the bar?
Well, I mean, I've always liked doing the show. There are weeks where I was like, oh crap, I gotta go find an article and do a thing, and then I gotta be there at the place and the time but it was, and I have this about many things, but this certainly hit that. Things I enjoy. I have that sort of toddler reaction to, I'm growing tired of this toy until that child tries to pick it up, and now it is the only toy I want. And so whenever we get into really full swing with the podcast and we're chugging along and doing really well, I'm like, oh, this is so much work. And then we start, we pack it up, or this time when we're talking about it, I'm like, but I want to do it.
Right.
But I mean, I get all the reasons, and I think I'm the one who's been vocal the most, the longest about shouting into the void, and when we get down to 22 downloads for an episode total, it is disheartening to me. So I would rather wrap this up with the family, that the audience that's listening, the people who do want to hear about closure. But I'd like to either.
I would be interested. Speaking of those people, the family that stuck around with us, I would be interested if you are still listening, and you have ideas for us, thoughts for us about what to do next, what we could have done better with this show, what you might like to see. Do you want to hear Adam rant about the news? Whatever.
Jeff wants to hear me rant about the news.
I do. I really do. Then send an email to Art. I think it'd be so.
I think it would be brilliant.
I think I would make a good lead-in to Rachel Maddow. Sorry, Chris Hayes. You got to get out of the way. I'm coming.
I think it would be so fucking funny. But seriously, send an email to arttechniquepodcast@gmail.com. Seriously, do it.
Do it.
Or go to our site, arttechniquepodcast.com. Or do what some people do, which would really be an amazing thing to boost the visibility of the show as we head out the door, is to go leave a review on iTunes. I wish I had stressed earlier how important iTunes reviews are. iTunes reviews will take a podcast from obscurity into a few people notice it, because they give us social credibility. So if you really like the catalog that exists and you wish that more people had found it, it's still going to be up. It's still going to be on the internet. The archives are. So leave a review on iTunes, and that would be really cool. And that would be, I would consider it a great gift. Because I think there's some stuff that's worth hearing. And I still plan to go back and use the time away from this particular endeavor to go back and clean up the old episodes. And by clean up, I mean we had some real audio issues in the beginning. And some flow kind of issues, and I still have all those master files on Blu-ray, and so I'm going to go through after a little bit of a break and start to remaster from episode 1 forward, and I'll keep up on the Facebook page and let people know when that's happening, and sort of, I guess, re-release them, which would be kind of fun.
But you should know,
and maybe they'll have a better second life.
You should know that in any of those episodes where we talked about guns, we're going to replace those with conversations about walkie-talkies.
Walkie-talkies.
And Adam is going to shoot first.
I always shoot.
Really?
I always shoot first. And then
What movie are you talking about with the walkie-talkies?
And then that's
You don't
E.T.
know-
when they
E.T.
re-released it.
Wow.
They
I did not know
digitally
that.
altered every gun in E.T. into a giant walkie-talkie held like
You
a
are
gun.
kidding.
for the re-release in theaters. However, then after it came out, Steven Spielberg said this was a mistake. And so when they reissued like the 30th anniversary editions on DVD, all like the audio and picture was cleaned up, but they put the guns back in. You know what I mean? Like,
Or they left them alone.
they left them alone. Yeah. No, they put new guns over top of the new walkie-talkies.
It's modern guns. It's laser rifles that weren't invented at the time, but are now available.
Oh.
Well, hopefully, if and when we pick up with whatever the next thing is, Aaron will be in Italy, Adam will be in Kentucky, I'll be in Atlanta or somewhere, and that'll be cool. I'd like to speak to how much I feel like. By the way, this is going to be such nostalgia. So if you're if you're over it, well, it's okay. But if you're not, then come reminisce with us. How much of a journey we took from, I think, all of us being in a darker place, all of us being more nervous, all of us being a little less certain about our voicing our opinions on things, to now where even though I stutter and stumble and add a bunch of modifiers onto my sentences before I ever get my thought out, I still feel more confident and actually, a little more articulate, to the point that I've said some pretty stupid stuff on the show. Roll the highlight reel. No, don't. But it's given me a great insight into my own point of view, and I think it's for all of us. It's I think done a lot for just confidence in that point of view. So I think that's kind of a cool thing.
Sure. I've been exposed to a lot of things that I definitely would have not sought out otherwise, ideas and concepts. And,
Malaria.
Pursuits, malaria, syphilis, gonorrhea. I lost my leg in that battle with the cyborg cop. And I mean, if nothing else, I know how to use my computer a hell of a lot better than I did a year ago. I know keystroke shortcuts.
Ooh.
I know how to. Ooh, yeah. I know how to render and convert certain file formats from one to the other. I know how to route audio from like an internet Google Hangout into either a software on my computer or sometimes through like a hardware device that connects to my computer. I understand the difference between hardware and software now. How those words are different. I understand that 16 ounces of coffee is a bad thing to pour on your computer.
Does it make it go faster?
It does for that one brief moment, as it goes very quickly from the Starbucks I spilled the coffee on to your house. Like it was going like 60, 70, 80 miles per hour down J.R. Allen Parkway.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
My gosh.
Okay,
all right. You know what? Yeah, go ahead, Aaron. Go ahead.
In episode 10, did
Oh,
we
good.
say
Go
that
ahead.
the robots took over in year 2 or year 5?
I thought you said year 5, but I don't remember.
I feel it was probably 5. But so maybe there's
Okay.
just a gap between now and then the robots will take over and then the timeline will reassert itself and
That's right. Well, maybe we're in fact dealing with the fallout of messing with the timeline by reverse casting, like we did.
Or maybe it was an alternate timeline, and Bryan Singer will create a movie that joins the two timelines together,
I like it. I like it. Okay.
like he's doing right now with the X-Men. Oh, he's going to join all the X-Men movies together with this new one they're making.
like
All right. I'm
First
gonna go.
Class and
We're gonna play a game.
Yes.
Are you ready? We're gonna
Do it.
play a game.
All right. Would
All right.
you like to
Adam,
play
what are
a
you playing
game?
with? What is that thing? What's
Oh,
that
I'm
noise?
sorry. Did you hear that? I'm sorry. It's. I'm sorry. There are these clothespins, the clothespin Enterprise that I was playing with.
Yes.
Yeah, I keep attaching them to my body and then fidgeting with them. I apologize. I'll stop.
That's okay. That's
I'll
okay.
stop.
It gives you something to do.
It does.
But we're gonna play a game. Would you like to play a game? I am gonna call out an episode title,
Okay, and we have to
All
talk.
right.
Okay, you finish. I'll stop.
and you need to give me your initial response to that episode title. So it's a little bit of word
Like,
association.
are you talking about like emotional response or like
emotional memory, whatever, man.
Okay.
Whatever, man. All right.
There are no rules.
I need tighter boundaries.
Here we go.
All right.
Korean thing on the wall.
I remember where the title
Orwellian
came
future.
from, but I cannot remember anything else from that episode.
The thing I remember the title came from me talking about the radio in Korea that you can't shut off. So I'm going to say Orwellian future.
All right. I'm going to say crowded around a tiny table at Marty's with stuff everywhere.
I think it's funny that I remember the concept, I associated the concept and you're associating the experience of recording it. I'm diverting
All right.
the game. Go.
Here we go. Pungarithm.
Oh, we never got him on the freaking show, and he wanted to be. Like
I thought about that the other day.
Whatever. We can do an ArTechník special.
I would like
do
to.
it? Yeah, do a
Michael actively. He found us. We chatted.
Yeah.
He wanted to. The time we were planning to, he was at a workshop out of town, so he was in the States, so he couldn't record because he was closer to us. And I still want to sit down and have a conversation with him. So we should do that.
I agree.
It'll happen.
It's funny because I have told that story about him contacting us to like 4 different people since I got here. Only because like it's come up because one girl has a friend that he is currently like at college learning about like AI design and stuff like that. And so then that becomes my segue of like, oh yeah, well I've talked to one of the most, well I haven't talked to him, but I tell him about how he found us talking about him on the internets.
Well, we'll just do a Polar podcast special with him. Like that's the thing that we're free to do now.
Do we have do we have to pick like a holiday theme, like when to contact him?
No. Just a
Like-
special, like
Rosh Hashanah, would that be an appropriate
no,
time? To...
When
no,
the
but like
schedules
5x5. Yeah, right. There you go. There's your title. 5x5, which is a podcast network that I really admire. They have a thing just called specials, and sometimes the specials will be dedicated specials. Not associated with any particular holiday, but sometimes the specials will just be there's this episode of this regular show that they always do. But like for example, we did the Science of Art Part 1 and 2. We could put that together in a bundle and call it a special. You know what I mean? That's the thing that sometimes people do. So I'm just saying, if we still can get in touch with this guy, and it could just be an ArTechník special, and that would be fine.
Yeah.
Okay. Art and happiness.
Lies.
I draw a blank.
Art. I do too. Like all I can see is a big yellow happy face with that I in my mind's eye I know is obscuring things. Like there are things behind the smiley face that I can't see.
Okay, I'll read the description. Maybe this will help. Released October 7th, 2012. Is the brooding artist a myth? Are artists happier than other people?
Is that when
Does that
we
help
talked
you?
about Republicans and Democrats and which ones actually like change more?
That would be
I don't know.
That would have to be because I know I spent the 2.5 months leading up to the election talking about politically related stuff. So that sounds correct.
Okay, all right, okay. I'm gonna change the game up just a little bit.
Okay.
I'm either gonna call out a title, and you give me your
Or the name of a Dave Matthews
Psychologist
song,
reaction.
and we have to tell you whether it's true or not.
or I'm gonna read you the description, and you're gonna tell me the episode title. Oh.
Can the episode title be
Here we go.
multiple choice, please?
Here we go. All right, yes,
Okay.
it can be.
Or
Here
like
we go.
an either or. Okay.
Well,
All right, I'll just
we'll
do one of
guess
these. We'll see
first,
how that
and then
goes.
he'll give us a clue.
All right.
Go on.
Released September 22nd, 2012.
Supermoon!
This week, Jeff, Adam, and Aaron are afraid. Cockroaches, art, and chocolate create fear, and fear creates cockroaches, art, and chocolate. Also, golems and homunculi.
I remember the conversation. And it's like techophobia or something.
Oh, so close! Artophobia! Good
Artophobia.
job, Aaron! I wish I had a bell so I could ring it.
Ding.
Let me get a bell. Vamp.
We just make a ding noise.
Vamp!
Ding. I'm making a bell noise, Jeff.
Because I remember the homunculi came up because we were talking about the 3D chocolate printer, and y'all were like, what would you make? What would you make? Yes. I was like, I'd make a chocolate homunculi.
Okay. I'm back. All right, I got a bell.
Boy.
It's an old bell. Okay. All right. Okay, we won't play many more of these.
Why did nobody listen to our show?
This episode's released. Shut up. This is for us now. And anyone who's still here, God bless you. All right. Released October 14th, 2012. This episode's special guest is blank.
That would be
Comic book inker for 20 years. He's worked as an inker on both.
Paul Miotti.
Yes, Peter Palmiotti. Yes.
Paul Miotti. I can't say his name.
Good
And
job,
I remember that one
Point for Adam.
because that was our first interview. And
It was.
It was also, we were all up at Stone Mountain because I remember we were
Yes.
all in Aaron's living room, and I remember the picture on where Peter was, because was in Louisville or is in Louisville, like around
Yeah,
there.
he
It
is
was our
now.
first
And,
Skype interview.
Oh,
was it our
that's
first
true.
interview?
That's right.
Really? That
But,
late? Our first interview? Go on.
Yeah.
Oh,
I
I'm
think
looking.
he
I'm
was.
looking. Well, no.
I just
My first
remember-
interview was episode 3 with the cast, so tweeted. But go ahead.
Okay, but yeah, I just remember the image because it was like it was complete black,
The
but I think
underground
he was being
bunker.
lit. Yes, the underground bunker that he was like being lit, I guess, from the computer screen, or because it just had this slight greenish cast, but you
Peter,
couldn't.
it looked really dark in your house.
Yes, you couldn't quite make out a face, and so it was like underground bunker. Yeah, it was funny.
and like Borg lighting because of the green.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, here we go. Released July 1st, 2012. A podcast about the intersection of art and tech. This time around, we get deep into cave paintings as animation, video, and trance. All glory to Hypnotoad.
There were 2 episodes where I talked about the cave paintings, but they were close up to each other.
Do you want a hint?
Yeah.
It was like Funkatron.
This time around, we get deep into cave paintings as animation, video, and trance.
Are we guessing the title now? Is that what?
Yes.
We're Oh, trance. Hypnotique. Hypno.
Nope.
I don't
hip,
know.
hip hooray for us.
It was Flow Time.
The
time.
creative time span where you
Yes.
lose the chronological flow
Yeah.
of time.
I do.
Yep, okay.
I do remember the
Yes.
cave paintings, though. I remember they had just recently discovered that the paintings at the time, the paintings were
Yeah.
designed in such a way that when you lit them by firelight, the movement of the fire created sort of a false movement that animated it. Yeah.
Whereas the other time
Oh,
we talked
yeah.
about cave paintings, they were abstracted vulva.
Is that right?
It was.
Is that true?
It's true. It was in
I-
the Ben Reed rabbit hole episode.
That was yeah,
Oh
I do
my
remember
gosh.
that.
That was
But-
the episode with Ben.
Yeah.
That was episode not 53, but
It was like
1,
2 or
2,
5.
3, 4, 5, 6.
It was
7,
within the
8,
first
9,
month. Or
it
well,
was
first
12. Episode 12.
Yeah.
Episode 12.
because that's what I mean. Yeah, I kept bringing up the cave paintings like for 2 or 3 episodes. Yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
several different things because
Yeah.
there was the animated ones and the pornographic
Yeah.
ones and the calendar.
Okay, here we go.
Uh-huh.
Released November 5th, 2012. This one is great! Exclamation point. And it really was.
Yeah.
We sit down with the multi-talented blank to find out where his music comes from and where he might be going next. Also, blank performs 2 songs just for ArTechník.
Well, that's got to
gotta
be
be
Jim
Jim.
Farr. Our
Music
first,
of Jim Farr.
our first
Yes.
in-house interview.
That's right.
We paid no expense to bring him to your house and
In
talk
fact-
to
Oh
him.
man,
I
But you know
charged
what? I
him
love
$5
that.
to park in the driveway. So
I love that one though because him and Chris Hatchett both whenever they were both on the show, I just remember us all crowding around. I seem to remember the table moments. Us all crowding around the table with this ridiculous number of chords. And when Jim was there, he had brought his own mic, which was great, and all this like music equipment and like all of these cables and headphones and trip hazards, and us crowd around this my dusty house, crowd around this little table. Not sure if we were even going to be able to hear the music. I enjoyed that. Aaron, weren't you on video for one of those?
Chris Hatchett, I was
For Chris, but you were there for Jim.
I was there with Jim.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see. Ooh, okay. This one's gonna be hard.
Mm-hmm.
Released October 22nd, 2012.
Haunted House.
Ooh, no, that would be the one immediately after.
Oh.
So half a point to Aaron. All right.
Says
In
you.
today's
You're reading these off your screen, Aaron, aren't you?
In
not.
today's Sexy Voice podcast, we catch up on life, the universe, and everything from internet privacy issues to Philip DeFranco scooping Adam on news stories.
I believe that only happened one time. That only happened one time, Jeff.
No,
Once.
continue to happen. What's the title? I
I
can
don't
give you a
know.
hint. I can give you a hint.
Okay, multiple choice.
No,
Make-
hint first.
And I'm going to give you a hint.
Because
Okay.
I'll remember the title if I hear the title.
And then I'll tell you what I remember about the episode.
Did
Okay.
you just say you'll remember the title if you hear the title?
In a list of 3 titles, I would know
He'll
which one was
remember it,
actually
yeah.
an episode
He doesn't want to
title.
cheat. He has
Okay.
standards.
Whatever.
You care about honesty. Aaron cares about integrity in gaming.
What? You can't spell ethics, so there.
I can't make an acronym, a recursive acronym out of ethics. All right. See last episode, Jeff. Released October 22nd, 2012. In today's Sexy Voice podcast, which I remember was hilarious, we catch up on life, the universe, and everything. From internet privacy issues to blah, 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 blah.
Universal Translator.
Oh, no. It's tough. It's a verb. It ends in ing.
Fracking.
All right. It is oversharing.
Why were we sexy voice that day? Were we all sick
We were sexy voice that day because I think it was early. I think we recorded early in the morning, I think. And I remember Adam and I was doing the standing desk back then, and he and I both had, I think, cups of coffee. And I remember there was bourbon in my freezer. And
But not in the coffee, wink wink.
right. And I remember Adam and I, we were standing up and drinking our coffee and like looking at each other like, "It's Sexy Time
It's
podcast
Sexy
today."
Time on the podcast.
And Aaron was on the Skype. Okay, people can't take much more of this. They
That's
probably
right.
already left.
Ladies
According
and
to our
gentlemen,
numbers, they have. Waka,
you're
waka, waka,
missing
waka.
this. This is what you're missing. Sexy voice Monte.
And
Okay.
Adam.
I can
Wait,
do 2
no,
more,
I'm
or I can do
Aaron.
3 more. All right, guys, I can do 2 more, or I can do 3 more. We need a morning drive shock jock show.
I've just co-opted Aaron's brain.
Nice. Well, I can do 2 more,
But
or I can do 3 more.
Do
2 more.
whatever
Or 3
makes
more?
you happy, Jeff.
Do one more, man. Please do one. Just one.
No.
more.
I'm gonna do 2 more. I'm gonna do 2 more.
Okay.
I'm
All
gonna do
right.
2
All right.
more. All right. Ooh.
We know how to go out on a high note, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes, we do.
I'm gonna stop playing with that. Sorry.
It's better now than during your heartfelt moment earlier where it was like feelings, clack, clack. Feelings, clack, clack.
That's true. While Jeff is thinking, I'll play with
Yeah.
these. I'll play. I will play with these clothespins.
I remember that during Patently Absurd, we played
Yeah.
a game in that episode, and I was like, I wish we could come up with more because it was a fun conversation starter.
was.
But Patently Absurd just lent itself to it because it was just like this is to describe this patent, and I would give you this ridiculous name, and you had to improvise what that invention did.
All right, here we go.
Okay.
Next to last one. Penultimate one. For those of you playing at home, the score is rewind and find out because I do not know.
Irrelevant.
Released.
I think Aaron has 1.5 points, and I have
think he does.
1.
Released August 18th, 2012. Amusement Park Madness, the art and technology behind roller coasters, theme parks, and more. Ah!
Oh, it's something called Coaster. Something Coaster. Monster Coaster.
Nope.
Art Coaster.
Nope, it's not coaster.
No. Okay.
Roller.
Oh wait, amusement park. It's something about.
It is.
Something.
It is. You're on the right track.
Parkopolis.
Park.
You're so close. Yes. What's the first
Parkopolis?
word? There's 2 words.
Theme Parkopolis.
Theme Parkopolis.
Yes!
Yay!
3 points to Aaron.
Adam
half a point
helped.
to Adam.
What?
All right. This
This
one you
game
got
is
half a point.
This game is bullshit.
These games are bullshit. It's rigged. It's rigged.
I'm going to
All
swear
right.
as much as I want in the last 10 minutes of this podcast.
All right.
I probably won't.
A pod. Here we.
You probably will swear as much as you want. It just won't be that much.
Here we go. Here's the last one.
Okay.
Released 2012. A podcast about the intersection of art and technology. Jeff, Aaron, and Adam discuss cheaper tech for better storytelling, GarageBand jam sessions on the new iPad, who we are, Celtic screenwriting software, 1,000 true fans, speaking of Twitter, kids quitting Facebook, personal versus professional internet, Roseanne's objectivity, where carnies retire, ScanOps, Jurassic Disappointment, the return of adventure games, the PS Vita, and the Game Boy Graveyard.
It's clearly like our first grab
That was
baggy
about-
sort of episode.
Yeah.
I
There were so many
remember-
things.
I forget what I remember. There was a specific thing that read the first part of the list real quick, like in
right.
rapid pace.
All right. Aaron and Adam discuss cheaper tech for better storytelling, GarageBand jam
Yes,
sessions
I
on the
remember
new... Yes.
the recording session was the time where we tried to literally record on 3 different GarageBand enabled devices.
Mm-hmm.
And we had to I left the metronome on in mine. So during the entire episode, I had this very slow, spread out metronome in my ear through the entire episode because it had been so difficult to get it synced up and going. I did not want to tell everybody we had to stop because I had left my metronome on.
Wow.
But no guess as to the title.
No idea because
I'm going to say it's the first one, and I'm just going to say it's called ArTechník.
Half a point to Adam.
Ow.
It is the first episode. Sorry.
Yeah.
Released March 25th, 2012, and it was called Live Digital
Art
Theater.
Oh,
Yeah.
live digital theater. All
Yeah.
things we love.
I did.
Now,
Then that wasn't the time that I left the Met because we had.
that would be the second one, video game art, where we recorded in your house.
No, it was at your place. It was when we all brought the iPads to your place. Anyway.
Okay.
But that must have been when we
when that
talked about
was.
the idea that we could do it with GarageBand, and then we tried to implement it a few episodes later, 4 or 5.
I thought that was the first episode. Okay. Oh, I think you're right. Who cares? Well, who cares?
Who cares?
Well, I'll find out when I go back and I try to figure this out whenever I try to remaster it and release our box set.
That's right.
Anyway, but no one should feel bad about not remembering any of this stuff just because you were there. Because, guys, I don't know if any of you have ever done a show a week for over a year before.
Not the same show a week for over a year.
Right?
That's the same.
An
but different.
hour-long news show a week for a little over a year.
Mm-hmm.
So no wonder we don't remember stuff.
Also, I never listened to it. I listened to
never
like
listened
the
to it,
first
too.
3 episodes.
And I
like,
probably
the
listened
week
to
they
it too
released.
often.
Right. Because
And then-
you're processing.
You did all the
producing.
work.
Yeah, I was trying to get the what you call it, right? We needed someone to do like an intern, like a show notes intern. Anyway, we digress beyond digression.
Sure.
I guess the bar lights are on, and last call's probably already happened, and we probably ought to shut her down, I suppose.
Oh, that's right. I was supposed to get drunker.
Mm-hmm,
Let me tell you one more thing about working with you.
Tell us
guys.
the story, Uncle Adam.
Well, yeah. Yeah.
Oh God!
Tune in
Get
this
them up.
fall for Adam Gets Angry at the News.
I would love to do that show.
Yeah.
I remember
Jeff and I will just be there to prompt you and make you angrier.
There we go. I'll hear
Yeah.
you in my headphones, but no one else will be able to hear you.
Well, I thought it'd be fun to like start the show and be and call you up. Like I think it'd be funny if it was like a call up show, like you're just waiting for me to call. Like
So
you're
it
ready.
could happen at any
You're already
time.
on.
Okay.
Yeah, you're already on, and right. No, I mean we'll set a set time or whatever, but like you're already like ready, and you're just waiting. Like in this window, I'm gonna call sometime in the next 10 minutes or whatever, 30 minutes, whatever. And none of this setup stuff. We just call and we're just gonna go, right? And I call and I'd be like, "All right, Adam, what happened today?" Let me tell you, Jeff. and then you just rant about something.
And then
Give me
we'll
time to get good,
come
good
up
and
with
pissed.
some of the worst articles we could find of the worst decisions mankind had made that week, and
Yes. Oh,
prompt
wow.
them
Yes, and
to
just send you things that make you mad.
Ugh. Speaking of things that make me mad. Okay,
Yes?
the DOMA ruling that was just overturned by Supreme Court. I'm very excited and very happy that it happened, and that at least the federal government has come to its senses and is finally going to recognize consensual relationships between two loving adults. However, it has been absolutely brilliant to read through some of the backlash blogs, like, Mike Huckabee is mourning for America. Michelle Bachman, like that bitch is still relevant, is demanding that we all pray and meanwhile she's on like ethics fraud charges for misusing funds for her presidential campaign, and it's really interesting. Pat Robertson was talking about obviously Justice Roberts and Justice Kennedy must have like gay clerks working for them that swayed their decision, not because DOMA as a policy was a terrible policy. That couldn't obviously be the reason of why.
Unconstitutional one, perhaps.
An unconstitutional one at that. Right. It's just bullshit. It's just absolute bullshit.
And that was the pilot of Adam Gets Angry at the News.
If you want more of that, fans of ArTechník, tell us.
Tell us.
Please write your demand on a $20 bill and send it to 418 West Short Street. No.
Yeah, something like that. I call you, you get angry for 5 minutes, we're done.
Think how
Or
cathartic
however
it'll
long
be.
you rant for.
I would love
you get
it.
it out, do it in the morning, you get it out of the way, you feel better, We're done.
And you know what would start to happen if that was indeed the format? I would get braver and braver in the things I was going to say. Like it would be like that guy that continues to drink like over the course of an evening and gets braver and braver in the things he says and does. And at some point, you would be talking to me on the phone to record this, and I would start pulling up random strangers that are standing around me, like, "What do you think about this?" And God help them if they disagreed with me.
There you go. That would be it. That'd be perfect. It'd just be a phone call. Oh, my goodness. Yeah. My goodness. Yeah. That would just brighten my day, as it just did. Oh, my gosh. I remember us all sitting around the house, and I don't remember how long it took to get the first one set up. I know it took kind of forever, and things just kept dropping, but I remember how cool it felt to have done a thing after it was done. And over a year later, it still feels very cool to have done a thing, to be like, hey, let's start a podcast. And you guys went with it like gentlemen and approached it like scholars and executed it like warriors. And that was kind of badass. So thank you guys very much for that.
Cool.
We should probably ride off into the sunset here. So,
all right.
Wait, articles.
Well, I noticed that I had art and book sales are more profitable on digital mediums than material mediums as of this year.
Awesome.
Really?
Yeah.
Wait, say that again one more time.
Wait, are we talking about articles?
No, this is the
what are we
article
doing?
I had pulled in case we got to articles for this week.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I
Art
was
and
confused.
books have had more sales in the digital medium than in the material world as of this year.
Wow.
Not like as of ever, but as of this year, current sales of art and books are higher percentage to digital mediums.
I have one I would have talked about. I would have talked about PayPal launching galactic payments. PayPal Galactic, creating the first outer space payment system. I also would have talked about first-person version of Pac-Man.
I think the only thing that I had in my hip pocket was a terrible little article that I read about drive-in movie theaters. Because now that I'm back in Kentucky, there are quite a few drive-ins that are pretty close to Lexington, and they were. I think the story was about how after December 2013, December of this year, studios are no longer going to release film prints of the movies you watch at theaters. It's all going to be digital. And because drive-in theaters pretty much only operate during the summer months, they cannot afford the capital investment. And because they're a seasonal sort of event, they cannot secure loans to pay to upgrade their equipment. And most of the drive-in theaters that exist have film projectors. And so it'll be an interesting thing to see that what happens after this December. So this summer may be your last opportunity in a lot of areas of the country to go see a drive-in movie. So,
I bet they just go from first release to vintage films, and they really capitalize on being a drive-in by playing the original Wolfman or things.
maybe.
Or Indiana Jones. I saw a double feature. The only time I've been to a drive-in, it was Iron Man and Kingdom of the Crystal Skull.
How angry were you when you left?
I wasn't. And I think seeing it at the drive-in was the only thing that made that movie redeemable. Like, everyone hated it. And I was like, it was fine. But I saw it at a drive-in, which made it different.
It felt
think
right
for
at the
me-
drive-in with aliens and random monkeys.
When I saw it at the Kentucky Theater here, which is an older theater, and so it it wasn't it was an experience rather than just the movie.
Yeah.
Let that be said of us all.
So say we all.
So say we
Okay,
all.
let's not go out of Indiana Jones. Before sign-offs, we need some buffer. We need
Star Trek
something else.
reference.
Yeah, we need a Star Trek. I was actually going to close out with a Star Trek reference, but I was going to
Nice.
use it as my sign off.
Well, then
So,
your sign-off.
save
We
it.
can talk about
I'm not.
all good things. We can talk about
All the different finales.
Oh man. Okay. All right. Best and worst Star Trek series finales. Here we go.
I
The
think
worst, in my opinion, is going to be Enterprise.
I've
'Cause it
only
flashed
seen the
forward.
Next Generation.
Here's the deal. If you haven't seen the Enterprise series finale and you somehow like the show, it will make you mad because
will.
they took away the last episode from the cast by, spoiler alert,
Putting say it,
by-
Jonathan Frakes.
by putting Jonathan Frakes and what's her name, Marina Sirtis, as Riker and Troy watching the final mission of the original Enterprise on the holodeck. And so rather than the crew getting to have their final mission and you getting this nice closing with the characters, you get this weird crossover episode where it feels like they're just using their sort of star draw for those people who are fans of the series to squish the cast's final episode.
Yeah.
In a really imposing way.
And on top of that, the moment they were watching was at the end of their 5-year mission, and so it skipped
It leapt
forward.
forward.
It leapt forward, to the official formation of the Federation. So it was it was
But
a
it was
cheat.
the
in
leap
s-
home.
It was the leap. It
I
was
was
a
gonna
cheat
say,
in so many ways.
They should have taken my original idea for the final episode of Enterprise, which was that Scott
How'd you do
Bakula would ultimately leap out of the captain's body. Ziggy would show up and be like, "Oh, you're not supposed to be here," and they would leave, and it would be the final
Yeah.
episode of Quantum Leap instead.
I was disappointed in how Nemesis ended the Next Generation's tenure. I know
Oh,
those are
it's
movies.
terrible.
It didn't feel like they got their moment, like there was going to be a sequel, right?
Because what's his name?
Stuart Baird.
Well, not the director, but the writer of the script, Logan. Josh. Anyway, he's won Academy Awards for Gladiator and all these other movies, and he's a huge Trek fan. And if you watch that first movie, he had in mind it being sort of a trilogy to say goodbye to the Next Generation cast. However, the first movie was executed so poorly, and really, in terms of it being the first act of a larger story, didn't grab enough people, and so the story wasn't finished.
Yeah. Paved the way for the Abrams run, which I like. But
Sure.
I did not see Deep Space Nine. Did anyone see the end of Deep Space Nine?
Yes, it was satisfying. I mean, it was satisfying enough. I don't think it was quite as epic. It closed all the threads of the relationships and stories that were there in an effective way. Cisco. I think the only thing, and this was the opportunity I think they missed, rather than making that Nemesis movie. At the time Nemesis was made, Voyager had already ended and Deep Space Nine. And so I'd always thought it would have been much smarter to make like an all-star movie. Like you create an
Yeah.
original story in that timeline, in that portion of time, and just grab the characters you want and tell some
Yeah.
awesome story. But yeah, Cisco went into the wormhole. Like he basically got absorbed into where the prophets were.
Wow.
He got
I
caught.
knew it was something
Yeah,
like that. But
So again, there was the potential that he could eventually one day come out of the Great Temple or whatever it was called.
yeah, yeah. Voyager, I did see the ending of. Who has everyone seen the ending of Voyager?
I don't
Yes.
think I did.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
I think
Well,
that's the
Borg
second
stuff.
best one. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, but I think we know that the best one, if only because Aaron has seen it, but not only for that reason. Like legit, it is the best one. Is All Good Things the finale of The Next Generation?
Yeah, it's emotionally satisfying. It's just well acted. It's a clever
Yes.
story.
Yes.
It was just it was a great all around. It was a great way to close that series.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
And speaking of closing, sign off.
Oh, it's time for sign off.
Yes, it is. I'll start.
Okay.
I am Jeff, and this is not a sign off. It is a sign you later.
Aaron, continue to follow me at A Fool's Errand, my blog about Italy.
I'm Adam, and for my closing remarks, I'm going to read Picard's monologue to the bridge crew from All Good Things. This is his pep talk to his crew. If you remember, he's leaping through time between what we know as present day, Next Generation, back to the beginning of the series missions, and then forward into the future. And he has to convince the bridge of the Enterprise and the crew of the Enterprise to join him in what seems like this fool's errand of a journey. And here it is. I understand your concerns, Lieutenant. And I know if I was in your position, I would be doing the same thing, looking for answers. But you're not going to find any because I don't have any to give you. I know it's difficult for you to understand, but we have to take the ship into the very center of the phenomenon and create a static warp shell. Now, this will put the ship at risk, and quite frankly, we may not survive. But I want you to believe that I'm doing this for a greater purpose, and that what is at stake here is more than any of you can possibly imagine. I know you have your doubts about me, about each other, about the ship. All I can say is that, although we have only been together for a short time, I know that you are the finest crew in the fleet, and I would trust each of you with my life. So I'm asking you for a leap of faith, and to trust me.
Yay. Bye, Internet. See you later.
Goodbye, Internet. Leap of faith.